Hey, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and of course on this show we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and what we know is an aging population, which I'm part of. So I just want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for seniors in receiving proper care or supervision. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor right in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you can go to the website at seniorcareauthority.com. And I just want to thank everybody for all their support. We're getting more and more listeners. So many of you got onto iTunes or iHeartRadio and registered for free. Many of you have downloaded the free app on your iPhone or Android phone. If you haven't, just go to your apps, type in Aging Boomers, free download, and you'll get updated on all the shows each Monday and Friday. So I'm really excited about today's guest, just somebody that I have just great respect for in our industry. His name is Andy Cohen, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Caring.com. While caring for his mom during her losing battle with lung cancer, Andy realized that there wasn't a comprehensive website to help people figure out how to navigate all of the challenges of caring for aging parents. Andy founded Caring.com in 2007 to help make a difficult journey a little bit easier. With over 2 million unique visitors every month, Caring.com is a leading online destination for family members who are caring for aging loved ones. Caring.com provides objective information, a community of support, and local senior services directory that features 55,000 consumer reviews. Caring.com has been written about in USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, Money Magazine, and Business Week. And in May 2014, Caring.com was purchased for $54 million by Bankrate Incorporated. Prior to founding Caring.com, Andy held leadership positions in marketing and sales at SC Johnson Wax, Intuit, Instill, Peapod, and Success Factors, where he grew businesses from startup to tens of millions of dollars in revenue. Andy is a frequent speaker on caregiving topics and serves on the board of directors of the National Alliance for Caregiving. Andy earned BA in history from Stanford University and an MBA in marketing from Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management. I'm out of breath. Andy, thanks for joining us on the Aging Boomers.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
Yeah, great to have you. So, it's interesting. I started out talking about kind of the catalyst that you became interested in Caring.com, and it was probably, some personal reasons, having dealt with challenges with your mom, and that's, I kind of got into the business that way, and many other people have gotten the business because of personal situations. So I guess, my question to you, do you feel that the company, Caring.com, has fulfilled your expectations for other families that you wanted to help?
Well, I started Caring.com, Frank, as you mentioned, after losing my mom, and my sister and I were helping her as she was fighting cancer, and we needed to figure out how to hire an in-home caregiver when she wasn't able to care for herself, how to buy a hospital bed, how to navigate Medicare, and we made a lot of mistakes that ended up being both frustrating and expensive. And so after my mom passed away, the goal of starting Caring.com was to try to make it easier for other caregivers so they'd make fewer mistakes. And 8 years later, since I started 8 years ago, we have been able to help many people, and we get wonderful thank you notes from people, and we have been able to help them make it a little bit easier by pointing them to good local resources, by giving them some tips on how to pay for care. And one of the things we didn't anticipate really being a benefit was helping people realize they're not alone when they're in the caregiving role. It's a very difficult, challenging time, and many of the people going through it feel very lonely and isolated. And one of the things we've been able to do is give people some emotional support. So, a long answer, yes, it's been definitely what we set out to do. We're able to help a lot of people every month, and people appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. I know some of your staff, and they do a great job. So I think you do a great job from a training perspective and everything that goes with it. So appreciate everything you do. The company, is a giant in this industry. Okay, and I guess my question is, you have call centers that work with people that call on the phone or send you an email, and then your people follow up. I mean, how do you really personalize that experience for your clients? Like you said, they're usually dealing with pretty emotional issues. They're confronted with situations that they may have never dealt with before with a parent, and you could be talking to people in their 50s and 60s. These are the adult children. So how does the company personalize that experience? Well,
we're primarily a website. Most of the people interact with us via caring.com, our online site, and although they are mostly people in their 50s and 60s, most of them are on the internet and comfortable in navigating websites. And so we give them all of the information to help them get whatever help they need. If they're looking for what's covered by Medicare, we've got that on caring.com. If they're looking for the driving laws in certain states to see if their parents should still be driving, we've got that information. If they want to find a good local senior housing community, we have ratings and reviews of all the communities in the U.S. on caring.com. So mostly people personalize it by going through the site and accessing the information that's relevant to their situation, because in caregiving, there's so many different kinds of situations. Everybody's got a different need. For those folks who want to talk to someone, and many do, we have a team of family advisors that are able to help people find senior housing. And if they call us, what we do on the phone is try to understand what their needs are, what their budget is, what their location is, and then match them with 4 or 5 communities in their area that meet their criteria, and we'll book tours for them as well. So, but the majority of the people do it on their own through the website and the information that's out there.
So if I'm just trying to help people understand, would you classify yourself as kind of like the Expedia of the care industry, or is that a bad analogy?
Well, we like TripAdvisor as the analogy,
okay,
because TripAdvisor does a nice job with users sharing their opinions of places, and that's what we've built on caring.com, because you really want to, before you pick which communities to visit, you want to get a sense of what they're like, and it's really hard to get that sense by just visiting. It could be a beautiful building, but if the staff isn't caring and loving, it wouldn't be a great place for your loved one. On the flip side, it could be a tired old building, but if they have wonderful staff there, then it could be a great place for your loved one. And that's what you get through the reviews, is you really get the inside story on what the staff's like from people who have loved ones in those communities. And people use those reviews to narrow their selection process. They absolutely want to go visit before they make a decision, and we would never suggest that they make a decision without visiting. But there's so many choices, and the reviews help you narrow down the choices to understand which ones you want to go visit.
So let's make sure that our listeners understand that when we're talking about the communities, we're talking mainly assisted living or memory care. You want to just expound upon that and kind of the difference between those type of locations and what many, the older term that nursing homes that people used to stay at. But why don't you kind of explain that a little bit?
So the kind of communities we have reviews on are independent living, assisted living, and memory care communities. And those, we don't have user reviews on skilled nursing, though we do publish. The Medicare has a review system, and we publish those reviews. And these are reviews from people who usually they've either visited that community or they have a loved one in the community and they're commenting on all the aspects of it, the food, the appearance, and the staff, if their loved ones had a good experience. And some of the reviews are positive and many of the reviews are negative. So we have a number of negative reviews on the site too, which help people understand what some of the issues might be in these communities.
All right. So I know that we were, you kind of compared yourself to, what was it? Not Trip.com. What were
TripAdvisor.
TripAdvisors, okay. Which I think is a good analogy. The difference in our industry that we're in is versus travel, which that's an industry I come from, is that with travel there's a lot of repeat business. Whether you frequent that airline or you frequent that website or whatever it is, you're probably using it over and over again. It's possible somebody could use the services of a Caring.com just once, maybe twice. Okay, so how do in Caring.com, you're one of the largest, but all due respect, I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's a household name quite yet. Okay, I know you're working towards that. So, how do you explain to people? I mean, how do you educate people to help find you and having you help them through the process?
So fortunately, we've got great word of mouth. Anybody that's gone through and worked with us and been helped by us has a good experience, and they share it with their friends. We also, because we have so much great content, if someone's doing a search on almost any aspect of senior care on the web, they tend to find Caring.com. We have partnerships with folks like ARP and other websites that link back to us. So people are finding us a number of ways, and in January we're having our biggest traffic month ever. We'll have 2.5 million visitors. So
wow,
that hasn't been a challenge for us, because if you put out really helpful information, people do tend to find it, and so we are becoming somewhat of a household name in the caregiving space.
And as the boomers age and their kids are maybe doing searching or looking for assistance for their parents, the web is the first place they go to. So
yeah, it's the first place they go. And if you do a search, best assisted living in Chicago, I'm doing it right now, what you tend to see on the search results is a Caring.com review, because this is something that people are looking for, and our reviews show up very highly on those searches.
Yeah, that's great. Sometimes we use the term in our industry, the silver tsunami, kind of what's coming as the boomers age and are going to need may need some form of assisted living or other forms of long-term care. Does it keep you up at night? I mean, do you think we're prepared as a country? Even for even those organizations that are involved in this industry, or even the government and preparation to take care of so many people? I mean, tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't think it's the country that's ill prepared, because there are because we're in a free market economy, there are developers that are building more senior housing, and there are new buildings being converted or new buildings coming out of the ground. So I think there's a supply that's going to keep up with the demand in senior housing. But I think many individuals are not prepared for the cost of senior care, because
right.
Senior care isn't covered by Medicare. Long-term care is not covered by Medicare. Very few people have taken out long-term care insurance, and so they're going to have to pay for care out of their own pockets, either for their parents or for themselves. And that's where I think there's a lack of preparation. It's not anything to do with the government. People aren't saving enough to cover care, and they aren't getting long-term care insurance. So when it comes time to care for mom or dad, and they look at senior housing, and even though there's a spectrum of rates, it's still expensive. And so when people are in this situation, often they don't have the money to pay for care, so their parents are moving in with them, or they're moving in with their parents. And so we're seeing more multi-generational housing develop in the U.S., primarily because people haven't saved enough for senior care.
On the cost side, can you share maybe some averages or ranges to our listeners when you direct them to assisted living or memory care? I mean, what are kind of costs that people should expect, at least today's dollars?
Yeah, I believe the average assisted living monthly rent in the U.S. last year was about $3,400, and that's
per month.
Includes
that's per month. Right.
Per month.
Right.
And that includes meals and utilities, and you're not paying for insurance. So it's not, when you look at the cost of an apartment and you add in the cost of meals and rent, utilities and things, it's not that much more than an apartment, but it is something that people have to pay for out of pocket. And if they need higher levels of care, if their loved one has dementia, then it is more expensive than that. So it is something that people are not saving for.
So how does your staff deal with those people who are calling for help and may not, have that type of budget?
Well, we're referring people sometimes to in-home care agencies if they can't afford the rent, but their loved one needs some help. We also have lots of information on making your house senior safe if you need to bring your loved one in with you, and how to do that, and how to pay yourself to be a caregiver out of your loved one's estate. So, only 10% of people end up in senior housing because of the cost. 90% of people are in home care or keeping parents in their own homes with them. And so on Caring.com, we're helping people with all of those situations. That's
great. So you think, I would believe you feel that Caring.com is in the right position to deal with some of the high demand that is going to continue. What are you doing to really prepare for that silver tsunami, as we refer to it as?
Well, more and more people are finding us, so we're continuing each month to put out hundreds of articles and different topics to help people, and fortunately more and more people are finding us each month. So we're continuing to put out the information, and more people need it, and more people are finding it. So I expect that will continue. There's 43 million people in the U.S. caring for someone over 50. So even though we have 2.5 million coming to Caring.com, there's still many that could use our help but don't yet know about Caring.com.
Do you see any consolidation going on in assisted living, or there's the makeup of licensed assisted living across the country. It's not like the hotel industry where you name the Holiday Inn and Hilton and Sheraton's, and you got kind of a relatively small group that make up a high percentage. It's kind of the opposite here. There's a lot of small, privately owned places. Do you see much consolidation going on in the industry?
Well, yeah, we are starting to see a lot of consolidation. Just this summer, Brookdale Senior Living, the largest provider of senior housing in the U.S., acquired Emeritus, which was the second largest, and they are now together have about 1,200 communities in all 50 states. So they are the largest provider in the country. They're probably 10% of the senior housing market on their own, and I do think that consolidation will continue. There are several public companies in the space, and there are some operating efficiencies, just like in the hotel industry, around marketing and operations for being bigger. So I do think consolidation in the senior housing industry will continue.
Yeah. One of the greatest challenges I see being in the industry and working with people is, we try to educate people to kind of plan. I mean, not many people, unless there's a need, on a Sunday afternoon say, hey, Mom, Dad, let's go for a ride and let's look at some assisted living facilities. Again, unless there's that need. So how do you think we have to educate people to really prepare better so they're not confronted with or when they're confronted with a situation, they just don't know where to turn, don't know what to do? Any thoughts there?
Well, I think it goes against human nature. People tend to avoid crises until they're in the middle of them. I live in California, and I hear ads for earthquake preparedness all the time, but very few people do anything about it until there's an earthquake, and then all of a sudden they stock up, and it's too late. So that's unfortunately, people are not wired to be planners for things, and so I don't know if there's an easy solution to get people to start saving more for long-term care and to start preparing for it early. Unfortunately, most people don't want to think about it, and so they avoid it until the last minute.
Yeah, and we try to educate people, but you're right that as much as we say it, that just a lot of people just wait till it's not necessarily too late, but it just adds additional stress on the families. What comes to mind? I mean, what concerns you about the future of our industry, and what kind of gets you pretty excited and pumped up about the future of our industry?
Yeah, well, what's great and where we're also lucky is life expectancy keeps increasing. It's going up about 3 months a year, and so the kids that are born today in the U.S. are going to live to be 100, and so that's just such a wonderful thing. 100 years ago, the life expectancy was less than 50, and now it's 100. So it's almost doubled, and I think we'll continue to do that. So people are going to have many more years to enjoy their lives, to enjoy their children, their grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. That's a wonderful thing. I think what people aren't prepared for is living that long from a financial standpoint, and I think that's going to need to change in the U.S. People are going to need to work longer. I expect at some point Social Security will start later, Medicare will start later. So people now thinking of retiring at 65, 70 are going to have to change their thinking to more like 75, 80 because they'll be healthy enough and they'll be living long enough where they'll need the money. So I think that's the big change that we're going to see, and I think it's a good thing because people are going to be able to get, they're going to be able to live longer and enjoy life more, but it is going to change traditional views on how long people work and what entitlements they get and when.
Well, what's your thoughts on long-term care insurance? A lot of people, there's those that say, you should get it. There's others that go, no, I think it's a waste of money and, in a sense, self-insure and just put away money. But can you really put away enough money for what could be? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, for sure you could put enough money if you're a disciplined saver. So I think the question is, are you the kind of person that's going to put away $5,000-$10,000 a year for long-term care? And if you're not, buying an insurance policy for a couple thousand a year is a great solution. If you are a saver and you're able to save that much money, then you could do it on your own. So I think it's not, there's not a right answer. Generally, it really depends on what kind of person you are. But you need to do one or the other. You either need to save that money or you need to get long-term care insurance, one of the two, because as we've been talking about, you're going to have that cost, and either you or your kids are going to have to pay for it. So you really should be either saving or investing in long-term care insurance.
Yeah. Okay, good. We have a couple minutes left. I'd like to just have you talk a little bit more about your organization and, just your staff, your training. I mean, there's so much to know in this industry, and, of course, your site. So why don't you take a couple of minutes, give a little more of an overview, and let people know how they can get in touch with your organization.
So caring.com is a free website. You can come 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you're looking for any information around senior care, caring for your aging parents, whether it's paying for care, whether it's finding good local resources, whether it's just getting some emotional support from our online support groups, you can visit the site. If you are looking for senior housing, one of the unique features on the site are our ratings and reviews. Just like a TripAdvisor or Yelp, you can see what other people's experiences are in those communities. These aren't written by Caring.com. These are written by families who have loved ones in these communities. We have 70,000 of those reviews. And it's a great way to help you find which places to visit and which places not to visit. So those are a great resource for families. The online support groups are a great resource for families. And then if you do want to talk to someone, we have a team of family advisors who are available 7 days a week to help match you with communities, book tours for you, help you through that process, and that is a free service. We are reimbursed by the communities themselves if someone moves in, so it's a free service for consumers. So if you're comfortable using the website, you can get some great information online. If you want to talk to someone, we have a team of family advisors that are able to help you as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much. And again, you go to caring.com, but probably you'll find them and doing all sorts of searches in our industry. So, Andy, thanks so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. And feel free to reach out at any time. We'd love to have you back in the future.
Frank, thanks for having me, and thanks for helping get the word out.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Aging Boomers. Again, thanks for all your support. Check us out on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker. Download the free app, lots of different ways, or go to our website at agingboomers.com. So thanks so much for joining us. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Is that a wrap?